So now we're at the last topic. So the last topic we were asked to cover out of the all BEPS topic was the ring fencing issue. I said to someone last week, I said, unless I'm missing something, this is like quite a simple issue. So ring fencing is the fiscal boundary within which costs or revenue of companies in common ownership may be consolidated for tax purposes. Some countries keep different resource projects separate for revenue purposes because this means the profitability of each project is taxed on its own merit. More profitable projects raise more revenue, as the cost of other projects cannot be used to reduce revenue charges. So you have two projects that have been ring-fenced. So their tax liability is calculated on a project-by-project basis. So let's say the project one, the gross revenue is 200, the cost is 100. So the net revenue, the profit for taxes, and let's say the taxes are 30%. So they have to pay 30% of taxes. Project 2 has only $50 million of revenue, costs $100 million or $100. Their revenue, their profit is therefore negative, minus 50, so they pay no taxes. So if these two projects are taken separately, the government revenue is 30, in total is 30 million. If you haven't ring-fenced the project, if they're together, their combined revenue is 250, their combined cost is 200, so their net revenue is 50 at 30%. They pay 15 million taxes. So you see that if you don't ring-fence, there's a loss of revenue for the government. How does this work, this ring-fencing? So if you have Acme Mining Mongolia, so they have two licenses. One where they're operating a mine, so here they're making profits, and they have another license. So ring-fencing basically is that, as we did here, is that you ring-fence this project for tax purposes and this project for tax purposes, and you calculate the income tax separately on the two entities. In oil and gas, especially offshore oil and gas, where there's huge territory to cover, and the fields offshore are very big. If you make a discovery, it can be huge. Especially that very often the offshore, like onshore as well, but offshore in the ocean, it's uncharted. There's very little geological data, so in geologic information. So this encourages companies to spend, and it's very expensive to do exploration offshore. So it encourages companies to do the work, to do mapping the offshore, to discover oil. And in order to encourage them, you allow them to deduct these expenses from one of the other projects where they're making profits. Okay, so if you ring-fence, the challenge, so here there are reasons not to ring-fence. If you ring-fence, you have to be careful that the costs are applied at the right projects. So you don't want companies for joint services to start to apply the costs to manipulate where the costs go from, A or B. So you want to make sure that the costs for this project are applied to this project. So if you ring-fence, there's the potential for manipulation that the costs will go at the wrong place where they shouldn't be. So if you have engineering services, so if you have processing, you have to make sure that it's really applied to the right of the two ring-fencing. And let's say there's the third point, there's a shared infrastructure, let's say a railway, to take the deposit out. And this produced like 50 tons of copper per year. This produced 12 tons of gold, and they use the same. So how do you apportion the costs of the railway to each of the projects? So when there's common infrastructure, you need to have a system how to divide it. There's some caution about ring-fencing. It has the potential to speed up the corporate income tax. It may also deter future exploration. We discussed this, and development, limiting the future tax base. So the concept here is that if you ring-fence, and in the short term you may get more tax revenue, but if you limit exploration, maybe this is the cost of having lower revenue in the long run if you don't find new fields where you're going to tax the production. And as the next point, as I said, it's mostly for oil and gas that can be seen as a disincentive. A mining company, when they have a site, you discover a mine, especially if it's a major mine like OT, because they don't want to have too much investment in the same country, the cost of building a mine is enormous. OT has cost like billions of dollars. So they're not that keen about finding other projects in the country. Well, the logic in oil and gas, because it's much less expensive to extract gas than oil than in mining. So if you have an oil field, the company will be interested to find others, even in the same country. So the logic, the mentality of an oil and gas company is different than the one of a mining company. So the conclusion is that ring fencing may limit investment, especially in exploration. There are different ring fence to choose from. Some are more restricted than others. Some are around the mine site, some are around the licensing area, some are around like a region, so you can have different types of ring fence. So, we already said it, like the challenge to balance increase short-term revenue, but maybe discourage exploration and lower long-term revenues in the long term.